Okay, once an icebreaker. Well, I write in Malayalam. I've been writing for quite a long time. 1970, my first short story came out, and the last one came out in 2024. And I wrote a novel. In between, I keep writing very regularly columns, articles, and pieces. So if you see my output, it will be 70% non-fiction and about 30% fiction. That's it. These people, all of you are in Malayalis, then I can speak in Malayalam. No. Okay, if you ask question in Malayalam, then I will answer in Malayalam. Okay.
So, sir, I have a small question for you. Sir, you wrote a short story called Higita, right? About the footballer. So, what made you make the connection between the footballer and the story that you wanted to write?
Okay. That story has a bit of a history. As I said, I started writing in 1970. I had a very prolific writing period for about 10 years, 1970 to 1980. Then I stopped writing. I stopped writing not as a matter of decision, but circumstances forced me to stop writing because at that time there were no internet, there were no telephone connections. So I was working in a very faraway place in India, Bihar, where no Malayalam was accessible. Even the Malayalam radio stations were medium wave, it was not reaching there. So slowly, in the course of... So there are no connection between me and the language. So in the course of the next 10 years, I more or less lost connection with Malayalam. So I stopped writing. It didn't bother me much because I never took... When I started writing, I was about 20 years old. So I thought everybody in their life had a childhood or a youth in which they have written 5-6 stories. So I went on, immersed again in reading, mostly about non-fiction. And I used to write regularly in English for mainstream seminar, magazines that I published from Delhi. So around 1990, I got a chance to come back to Kerala. I came back to Kerala. I was working very closely with the government as secretary of a very important department in Kerala. So one of my responsibility was to write the budget speech. So there is a lot of confusion between the words in Malayalam and words in Hindi. So in Malayalam, if you say upanyasam, it means a novel. In Hindi, if you say an upanyasam, it means an essay. Similarly, in Malayalam, if you say nidhi, it means justice. In Hindi, if you say nidhi, it means policy. Kara nidhi. So what I meant was it would have a tax policy. At that time, the election was in the government.
Okay, no problem, sir. Please, push.
I was basically particularly
My speech will get Woman knew from the title, he was his son rather than his daughter. So he called me and said, what is funny? A short story come to it and what kind of a Malayalam are you writing? So he went on, we get connected to Malayalam about a year. So at the connect, she came very sudden. Which was at that time the wake up word. Wake up word boy, that low pocket, near pocket. So he used to, the BCR used to be called the player. In this character, people any other goalkeeper. Goalkeepers are supposed to stand in the ball pole, but this guy used to go into the other goal post. He kind of attracted the connection with Malayalam. I hope still for it just. I must have read it about 6-7 times. I lost it many times. Finally, I took courage because I was comparing it to what I've written earlier. What I written earlier was high modernism. Suddenly modernism was the main aim of writing was that readers could understand. So this was a very transparent critique and something which I didn't have in my earlier piece. While humor, the story had a lot of humor. So anyway, I wrote it and I did have the courage to say it. So I kept it for some time. Then I said, the editor of Madhavan, MP Barker and I am at a laptop. So he, it's a cover letter, and with the cover with stamp to shade it back. MP was a great editor, I must say. This happened all. And then, just before the Christmas. So, next edition was going to be press. And he pulled out the story of the last release that he did it with that way below. And that's the second phase of my dictate. Then I'll be following football. The reporters also how it deletes paper believe that they also what they have. Well, South Africa like wake up. So I've been following football even till now.
Hours, Papa.
Sir, actually, football ne basta diya chho kya hoने को हिट किया था आज तक एक की सेंचुरी अभी स्टार्ट करने वाले पेनल्टी शॉट एक करने तो बोले गोलकीपर ने गांड देना कुछ करने चाह अब how was your relationship like football like അത് എങ്ങനെയാണ് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ഓഫ് ചെയ്തത് ലൈക്ക് സാർ ആദ്യം ഇപ്പോൾ വേൾഡ് കപ്പിന്റെ ടൈമിലപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ സാറിന്റെ റൈറ്റിംഗ്സ് ഭയങ്കരമായിട്ട് കോൾ ചെയ്തിരുന്നു ഈവൻ യുവർ പ്രഡിക്ഷൻസ് സോ എങ്ങനെയാണ് സാറും ഫുട്ബോളും തമ്മിൽ ആ ഒരു റിലേഷൻഷിപ്പിൽ അത് ആദ്യമേ ഫുട്ബോൾ കളിപ്പരുണ്ട് അത് ഫുട്ബോൾ കളിക്കാറുമ്പോൾ എങ്ങനെയാണ് ലൈക്ക് അതൊരു ഒബ്സർവർ ആയിട്ടാണോ ഇങ്ങനെയാണ് തുടങ്ങിയത്
ഞാൻ തളർന്നത് 57-60 അന്ന് ഇന്ത്യയിൽ എനിക്ക് കേരളത്തിൽ ഒരേ ഒരു കളി അത് ഫുട്ബോളാണ് ടിക്കറ്റ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നേ ടിക്കറ്റ് വന്നിട്ട് മറ്റ് കളികളെ വിഴുങ്ങുന്നത് ഒരു 1990 അപ്പം അന്ന് കേരളത്തിൽ അന്ന് ഇന്ത്യൻ ഫുട്ബോൾ വളരെ മികച്ച നിലയിലായിരുന്നു ഇന്നത്തെ പോലെ ആയിരുന്നു മെൽബൺ ഒളിമ്പിക്സിൽ ഇന്ത്യ നമ്പർ 3 ആയിരുന്നു 1960 വേൾഡ് കപ്പിൽ ഇന്ത്യക്ക് പ്രദർശനം ചെയ്തി പക്ഷേ പുതിയ പോയില്ല ഇന്ത്യൻ ഫുട്ബോൾ വളരെ ഇതായിരുന്നു കേരളം ഒരു ഫുട്ബോൾ ഗ്രാൻഡായിരുന്നു കേരളത്തിൽ 4 പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ഫുട്ബോൾ ട്രോഫികളിലായിരുന്നു സേത് മാലിറ്റി ട്രോഫി കാലിക്കറ്റ് ചാക്കോളാസ് തൃശ്ശൂർ എറണാകുളം സോറിയോ അങ്ങനെ 4-5 ട്രോഫികൾ എല്ലാ ഇന്ത്യയിലെ മികച്ച ബോൾ കളിക്കാർ ഫുട്ബോൾ ടീമുകളും വന്നിരുന്നു അപ്പോൾ അത് ഫോളോ ചെയ്യാവുന്നത് എല്ലാ ബൂത്തുകളെ പോലും ഞാനിട്ട് പുറത്തേക്ക് കളിച്ചിട്ട് വളരെ മോശമായിട്ട് കളിച്ചിട്ട് കളി വിട്ടിട്ട് കൂടുതൽ സമയം കാണിയാകുന്നത് എനിക്കറിയാം
Being a writer, but the power will come back in 2 minutes, sir. That being a writer is so. I know that sometimes you have to keep continuously writing in order for you to keep your skills full. For you, when you said that you went for a long time without writing, also without being able to listen to things like the radio, when you got back into writing, what was that experience?
The reception this story got with that, it did a lot of feedback. I mean, that kind of made me continue writing. It has the statement that the rain coming is my reading. The unusual reception to that God was very encouraged, as that kept me writing for a long time.
So whether it I never knew that somebody I written a story about by this name.
Yes, actually, yes.
A group of is a Colombian goalkeeper.
Yes, a group of Kerala journalists went and met repeater. He did came to Calcutta to play a game. Went and met repeater and told the story, narrated the story. And according to their report, he was very happy.
Super.
So, couple of things. The two questions. One is the contemporary debates that the happening in history. How that eats a writer, a fiction writer. Like if you look at Tirthu, A.K. Chulya, here we come to Vanmaran. So, no, contemporary happening in India. So, as a fiction writer, as a novelist, how do you take history as a P? And how you create story well? Yeah. I mean, the role of a novelist is a historian and a story.
Yes, I don't have many writer friends. Most of my friends are non-writer who are highly political. So any contemporary event, we would be discussing for a long time. So there's a lot of internalization happening on that process. With respect to Vanmaraya, I was much more involved in that because I was working in Delhi, central Delhi, half Delhi, it was happy, oh my eyes. And in spite of being a central government officer, we, a couple of Sahari officers, formed an NGO and helped out the Sikh families for the Delhi Nagarid mites. So there were continuous interaction with the Sikh family because administration had broken down. There were no relief places. Nothing was given to the disparities. They were all taken with the Ridwaras or the schools and kept in safe custody. So we had all this come there upon there on in, and suddenly when you sit down and write, you can't go into that even in a straight way, but you try to see it from your eyes, complete outsider, a known Sikh, a known Punjabi Sikh person, very different vegetarian, that how we express the events, and that has to be presented to the world in such a manner. For example, Vanmaraya is a completely window story. The things are all happening on the same, but the story never, if you make a film out of it, it never moves out of the corner. See? Or when the Babri Masjid, it all happened instead of. So this was probably protecting myself because I'm never part of it. I was addicted all the time, but it's a lot of empathy, lot of internalization of the events. So with that, Vicky, answer.
Okay, sir, look and see. Look and see. ऐसा लिखना हो.
That's what I say to you, Babri Masjid. It all happened, while they were breaking down the coconut after that. I know it has affected a few people, how it has affected me. Actually, when I was writing it, I was right in the middle of it again because I was probably holding the charge of a division. There is something called a division in India. Probably Karnataka was a division, the three-four districts, before collectors come in a commissioner. So I was commissioner of a place called Makad, which was the most riot affected place during the previous incidents. And it was about 200 kilometers away from Ayodhya. So something like 72 to 120 hours, we never went back home trying to keep peace. And in the peacemaking process, it was not only the police, the army, the old JP followers, the students, they all came and sat down and manned lights. The whole idea was Gaya is a is a place with high Muslim population. So communist strife can happen very easy to keep peace and to keep confidence to Muslim that the civil society more than the government was able. See, seeing all that, I mean, there's a lot of emotions. And when you write, you can't have emotions. You have to write as little as possible.
Artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence.
Is taken out as a threat to creative life. It is procrastinating when you take to Pangunus.
Can the artificial intelligence be opposed
To amazing.
Encourage creative writing. For example, a new novel, probably 50,000 copy helpings. If it is styled through the artificial intelligence, say the percentage of original can be identified, and a percentage, either 75% original or 50% original, that can be treated as a creative writing. Other thing is that fonts. So can this AI made use of to enter the creative act?
There are two answers. It can be used as a tool. I have used it as a tool. I wrote a story about a property. The nearest I see the property is about in the zoo or something. So I want to know how it both smell, how its cares do, how its underbelly. These are things you can't go and inspect. So artificial intelligence had to the smell of the mouth, when the broccoli comes clearly, the first thing that hits you in the smell. So I thought it and but it is not. The crocodile's mouth smells about stale water. So that can be unusual. As a narrative writing, it can write plausibly flat narrative picture that you can take a from man, woman to the third person out and or you can communicate. It all depends upon the prompt. The what you want story can come up, but it can't come up. Indian writing. When Bashir says, Ummani Vidyom, artificial idiots can't write because Bashir said that. Bashir got born in a place called Tarayon, just next to his house was of him. Sirikulan. Since went up the hill and looked, the river was coming from both sides of the ring and joining and becoming a one big river. So this was in his mind when he said one and one becomes a big one. This kind of intimate, creative, personal sparks cannot. Though there is one fire, and I forgot his language.